work called ZIL-MFS for the file system. And the way it would work is there was this tool called MFSGen, and you would use it. You like call it from a bat file, and you would just give it a list of files, and then it would pack them, kind of like a zip, but it would be a .mfs file, and then you would just write that onto the flash chip on the board, and then it would like find the files and get them out. And this was like easy enough that the systems engineers could do it, because they would just put their new versions of the files into the folder and then click the bat file, and then it was done. That was it. And Xilinx, after like 10 years of not needing to update this library because it hadn't changed and just worked, they were like, it has been removed. You can no longer use it. They took the source code off of GitHub.
Oh.
Like, it's
That's
gone
good.
into the
Was
ether.
that at least, like, deprecated for, like, an extended period of time before they did that?
It was deprecated for 6 months. Yeah. And they're like, don't use ZIL-MFS anymore. Use ZIL-FAT, which is their FAT32 file system. The problem is, you can't produce a virtual FAT32 file system that as a file that can then be written to Flash. On Windows, you can do it on Linux. We don't have any Linux computers at work.
Of course not.
So I need to decide to either continue to use this deprecated, purged from existence library by copying the source code out of an old project. Can't configure it for the new project using the handy dandy wizard that's usually doesn't work anyway, so I have to just mess around in the source code to change for like the Flash part and stuff, and just keep using the old way and hope that like MFSGen doesn't suddenly stop working with the new version of Windows or something. I can move to the FAT32 and say, sorry, you can't prepare the file system in advance. You have to open up PuTTY and transfer the files on via X modem over the serial interface, which takes forever, and they would hate the systems engineers because they're the ones that have to deal with this thing. Or I can be like, here is a Linux VM. Put your files in the Linux VM, and then make your file system, your virtual file system in there, and then take it out, and then flash it onto the board. All of these options are really bad.
Yes.
So I'm going to present them to my team lead and make him pick. Because no matter what happens, whoever has to follow this procedure is going to be like, what asshole put this together? This sucks.
Make sure to include a picture of Jigsaw in the email, because it's effectively what you're doing.
Yeah, well, what's funny is, like, I was the guy before this that had to do some other dumb procedure, and I was like, what asshole did this? But it's like, yeah, at the time, that was the best you could do on the old board. This is the best you can do on the new one, which is worse than the old one, mind you.
Innovation.
Yeah. Anyway, what's up, bookers? Today we're going to be talking about Ulysses. I'm not going to open up the book for this one, so I'm going to put a big picture of James Joyce in the empty abyss on the right side of my screen here.
The picture of him just standing there, looking menacing with his eye patch.
I wasn't going to do the eye patch one. I was going to do the crazed stare.
Oh.
Hang on, let me get this up here. Oh, boy, that's big.
Hey, readers.
There we go. That's our boy, James Joyce. What a guy. What a fella.
Well, lad.
He's got such a gaze. What happened to his eye, anyway?
Hold on. What happened to James Joyce eye? Hopefully it's like something cool, not something boring. Ah, okay. Oh, there's an article about it. He got glaucoma brought on by acute anterior uveitis, which is a disease he suffered from all his life. We just disease into the Google.
Oof,
Apparently,
that is boring and sad.
Just chronic eye pain where it just stuff happens.
apparently he
Ow.
had all of his teeth removed. Believing that like his rotting teeth kept spreading infection to his eyes, which
Not a bad guess.
very well may
Yeah.
have been happening on account of all of his rotting teeth.
Yeah, that's not like completely far fetched.
I was hoping it would be something exciting like war injury or like plucked out by eagles.
Or like stabbed out in a duel, or hell, even like industrial accident.
That industrial accidents are cool though. Like, not that. Okay, wait. I'm not pro industrial accident, but like,
My not in favor of industrial accident shirt is raising a lot of questions answered by my shirt.
like as far as accidents go, industrial accidents are more exciting than most.
I suppose. Like,
Hmm.
at least if you're getting workers' comp out of it or something.
Well, hold on. No, it could get interesting here. One
Oh.
of the diseases that could cause uveitis, which like that's not a disease in and of itself. That's a symptom where just your eye hurty so much it explodes.
Eye exploding
This is long.
syndrome.
Yeah, one of the things that can cause it is syphilis.
Did
And
he
according
fuck
to their art-
enough to have syphilis? I'm looking
Well,
at this.
according to
I'm
the
looking at the
article I'm
same
reading-
article.
Oh, the Harper's one.
Oh, I'm looking at
Where it
one on.
says he's-
No,
Oh,
I'm
well,
not
the-
looking at
what
that
I'm
one.
writing things is that James Joyce began visiting prostitutes when he was 14,
That'll do
which-
it.
which is based. Yeah.
Apparently, a biographer once claimed that he had congenital syphilis, which means he got it
Hmm.
from his mom, who had syphilis when she was pregnant. Or I guess his dad, who then gave it to his mom when she got pregnant.
Mm.
Interesting.
You gotta be careful how you tell people about that. Yeah, I have syphilis. How'd you get it? From my mom. Hang on.
Oh no. I believe it.
Wait, I don't know why I put that in that channel.
Yeah, it's either that or some like
I didn't put
Like-
that in book club.
a particularly that or he had some sort of other autoimmune disease. But let me just get to the conclusion here.
Yeah, the conclusion is that he probably had syphilis.
Mm.
Seeing as a lot of people had syphilis at the time, and his symptoms were consistent with syphilis. It would
Syphilis.
also explain him being a bit crazy.
Yeah. Not as good as the academic paper I dug up that was 20 pages all about Plumtree's potted meat and the significance thereof.
That is
Oh,
too intriguing to not talk about.
Yeah. What? Because this is the tangent episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So do we want to do the meat essay first? You want to do the
Yeah, let's
erotic
talk about
fan
the
fiction
meat.
first?
Let's talk about the meat.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about symbols and themes in Ulysses, and a pot of meat being mentioned like 3 times is symbolic of something.
What's up, Booker?
You
Oh
did it
my
already.
God, it's
Man,
Nick.
Nick.
So, funny that Nick shows up on time for once. So the plan, as everyone's well aware, if we skip too many book clubs in a row, the server gets shut down, right? So what we were going to do is we were going to just not talk about the book and then tell Nick that we did a book club. But now he's on to us. So we'll have to actually talk about the book. So, Brandon,
Right.
enlighten us on the potted meat.
Okay, so the essay, it's in book club under the title of content server because I think that's just the generic title all papers get when you download them from the academic server. But the actual title of the essay is Plum Trees Potted Meat, the productive error of the commodity in Ulysses.
Sorry, run that by me again?
Plum Trees Potted Meat,
Uh-huh.
the
Yep.
productive error of the commodity in Ulysses by Matthew
Productive
Hayward.
error?
Yes.
Not era. Because I heard era at first, and
Yeah.
it was like productive era.
So I'll just read its abstract for everyone.
Uh-huh.
Symbolic interpretations of the commodities in Ulysses have obscured fundamental material details. A materialist approach shows that Joyce significantly altered the historical commodity Plum Trees Potted Meat in the Ithaca episode, representing this English product as Irish. Explaining this alteration in the context of Ireland's colonial economy reveals the political significance of Joyce's representation.
I have
His
altered
alteration
the
of the
product.
productive origin
Pray
of
I
the
do not
commodity
alter
in
it
Ithaca
further.
is a part of the chapter's demystification of British imperial claims of progress and universal improvement. Right, so we're doing some dialectical materialism, but only about the potted meat in this one chapter, which
Gotcha.
is cool. That's the kind of tedious academic Marxism I can get behind.
Do you want to send me
sounds
that
awful.
essay and I can put it up on the
Literally
stream?
in book club.
Oh yeah, it is.
It's the.
Good old contentserver.pdf.
I said that already. Keep up. I'm the and I'm drinking.
Oh, I don't like the new download icon on Firefox. Why is it blue? That's weird. It should be green.
You're weird.
I am weird, but at least I'm not blue.
Wait. I thought you liked blue things.
Yeah, I like blue things. I'm not blue. Wait. Oh, hold on. Open in system view. There we go. Bam. Wait. Bam. Alright. Plum Trees Potted Meat. The productive error of the
Yes.
commodity.
Yeah, I read out the abstract because it's really tiny print.
Sure is.
Right, so our introduction here is that sort of states what we know, that Ulysses is full of things.
Big
that
if
is-
true.
Like, in the literal sense, like Joyce describes in excruciating detail the mundane everyday objects.
Yes. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pull up
Otherwise
the
known as commodities.
I'm gonna pull up the book, because, well, you'll see.
You could even say that the extensive discussion of Bloom's wife is the discussion of a commodity.
Much to think about. And so our author here, Matthew, sort of traces a little bit
Here
of
we
the
go.
history of the scholarship.
We have
of the
3
work.
pages describing
Mhm.
the contents of Mr. and Mrs. Bloom's junk drawers, both of
Yep.
them.
So basically, Ulysses should be the next setting of any upcoming Katamari games. So many objects from which to roll up into a ball.
The first level, you start out in their junk drawer,
Yes.
and
Yes.
by the end of it, you roll up all of Ireland.
Someone should do that. That would be pretty good.
All right. So,
Uh,
what does the potted meat have to say about the something or other of the Britishness of this meat?
yes. Okay, so
How does
his
it
first.
demystify the imperial claims of progress and universal improvement?
All right, so let's understand. Let's start from first principles here.
Therefore, we are.
So,
I am, therefore I
Well,
buy
let's
commodities.
start by refreshing everyone about the context here of the potted meat.
yeah.
So he is looking through his pantry.
Mhm.
Oh, hang on. Where is the potted meat first mentioned? Yeah, so he is describing the entirety of his pantry.
Mhm.
On the lower shelf, 5 vertical breakfast plates, 6 horizontal breakfast saucers, on which rested inverted breakfast cups, a mustache cup, uninverted, and the saucer of Crown Derby, 4 white gold-rimmed egg cups, an open chamois purse displaying coins, mostly copper, and a phial of aromatic, violet, comfits. On the middle shelf, a chipped egg cup containing pepper, a drum of table salt, 4 conglomerated black olives in oleaginous paper, an empty pot of plum trees potted meat, an oval wicker basket, bedded with fiber and containing 1 Jersey pear, and so on, and so on. The potted meat shows up again. Oh, twice before, actually. So once before that.
Mhm.
A snack for supper. The home without potted meat is incomplete.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
the
during the
slogan, the
musical
ad slogan.
episode, if I recall.
Yeah. What a great time we had there.
And then later, just random thought that pops into his head. What is home without plum trees, potted meat? Incomplete. I mean, it makes sense as an advertising man that he would think about advertising
Right.
campaigns and whatnot.
And it
Um, and
And with it,
then,
it's an abode of bliss.
as he goes into his bedroom, he finds next to his sleeping wife the imprint of a male body in the bed and some flakes of potted meat.
yes.
So someone has come into his house. They've slept with his wife, and they have eaten his potted meat in his
In his
own
bed.
bed.
Hold on, go back to the last one.
This one?
Because he talks a lot more about the potted meat.
A plum tree in a meat pot. Registered trademark. Beware of imitations. Pete Bot. Trumply. Mout Pat. Play 'em true. Hold on, I have to compose a tweet.
Uh-huh.
Right. So while he does that, I took and I sort of did like the step one of this paper idea was to sort of recognize that all of these objects are sort of symbols of like middle class consumerism at the time, and we just kind of left it at that because we've got there's so many things to talk about. Apparently, before the sort of as the author describes it, a historicist term, which is sort of evaluate it in its context as opposed to abstractly out of its time. The potted meat was considered a sexual metaphor.
Hence it being in the bed where someone slept with his wife.
Bed. It is literally meat. It is it's a salty pink meat.
Ew.
So is this like
It was
the...
basically spam.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this
a
is...
proto form of.
It's a
Proto
euphemism for dick.
spam.
Proto spam is somehow even grosser sounding.
Maybe that like weird dried beef that the twins bought.
What?
It's like a cross between spam and beef jerky.
So, spam is a type of potted meat.
Ah.
Yeah.
Potted meat is still around. There are types other than spam, which is specifically canned ham paste.
Yeah. But it is a prepackaged consumer good. And our author of our incredibly in-depth paper pulls a lot from the work of cultural critic Frederick Jameson, who did a lot of these sort of analysis of literature and culture. This is his thing. Jameson's most famous work is the book Postmodernism: The Cultural Logic of Late Capitalism, to sort of understand the framework we're working with here. We're we're using the historical aspect, the context, as it were, to sort of see if there's more to it than just the list of symbols, which was a very common reading of Ulysses pre this time that our author's working from, which is in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
You can get canned potted meat
Yeah,
for
man.
$22 for a 24 pack on Amazon.
It's a lot of pie and meat.
Is it marketed to those people who buy the food in a bucket for the end of the world?
Yeah, basically. Armor
Nice.
potted meat, America's favorite. Mechanically separated chicken, beef tripe, water, salt. Contains 2% or less of mustard, natural flavors, garlic powder. Versatile,
Mechanically
ready to
separated
eat,
Lots of the
chicken.
flavors are natural.
ready to eat
Mechanically
potted meat.
separated chicken is what they make chicken nuggets out of.
Gluten-free
And-
canned meat made with pork and chicken. Spread the canned food on crackers or use it to make sandwiches. Ready to eat
I like the
canned chicken
bold
and
claim.
pork meat doesn't
America's
require
favorite.
any cooking.
Yeah. America's favorite is a very bold claim.
America's
It's
favorite
like-
potted meat.
It's like the Denny's on Babcock saying that it has the best burgers in town.
That was that.
What?
Yeah,
The
the
Denny's.
Denny's on Palm Bay Road. The sign
Palm Bay Road,
says
there we go.
"Best burger in town."
Uh-huh.
Like,
Old
really?
claim from the Denny's. I know our burger game in Melbourne's pretty weak, but it can't be that bad.
Fucking, I was tempted to get a burger when we went there.
I tried to, but they were out of the vegan burgers.
We gotta go back sometime. I'll get the burger with
Mm.
my pancakes.
Right.
But you guys actually went there?
Denny's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was like it was like 8 o'clock, and I was like, I want pancakes. Do you want to come to Denny's with me? And we got
when
pancakes.
was this?
Last week? Last week.
Yeah, it was. I think it was Friday.
Huh.
Last Friday. Yeah, cause it's like right down the road.
I really wish we lived closer so
Yeah, I know.
you could just call me and be like, hey Andrew, we're going to Denny's. I'm like, okay, I'll be right there.
Anyway, let's talk about potted meat.
Meat.
This episode
Right,
brought to you
so-
by Armor, America's favorite potted meat, and Denny's, the best burger in Melbourne.
Citation needed. So the traditional psychoanalytic reading of the meat was that it's psychosexual in nature, and that it's again about how he's not having sex with his wife and how other people are having sex with his wife.
Because other people are eating his potted meat.
Yes,
He is bad.
eating out his wife's potted meat. Just, what a phrase.
I suspect they're also putting their dick in his potted meat.
Absolutely.
So
And so the article is like, okay, we're gonna move past this. We're gonna look at historical context. And he's like, well, the previous historical readings of the text haven't gone far enough. They just sort of say, happened to the early 20th century. Like, the author, we're gonna go further. We're gonna go
basically,
deeper.
the earlier historical readings of this are basically what the what's it called? The notations for the book
Mhm.
do.
Yes.
Where it's just like, this was a thing.
So it's like now we're going deeper. I'm going back to the primary sources that Joyce used to construct his Ireland at that time. And we're gonna see what we can find out.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
Which is in a great sentence here. Connecting Plumtree's potted meat to other comparable commodities in Ulysses, notably Bovril, it sheds new light on the political dimensions of Joyce's complex representations of Irish consumer culture, at last moving away from the decontextualized and sometimes anachronistic speculations that have to now dominate a critical discussion.
So,
Mr. Alex.
It just makes sense.
what's incredible about like the Ulysses discourse, is
that
how
it still exists?
ridiculously like pretentious everyone that has anything to say about Ulysses is.
That include us.
No, because we don't have anything to say.
No,
Right, okay.
half these episodes I'm drunk, so.
Just wanted to make sure.
And I mean, the great thing about this is that like we're not steeped in the discourse, so there's like references in this academic paper to like the discourse that just seem completely insane.
Yeah.
It's like, and what's interesting is that it does sort of help us refresh memory that apparently this potted meat, that apparently back in the Wandering Rocks chapter in chapter 10, Boylan sent a jar of the meat to Molly, so that which meant if we've been paying a little more attention, you would realize that this is the meat that Blaze is sent to Molly, and then probably which then does confirm that it was Blaze's in the bed eating the meat that he sent her.
Couldn't you just brought it with him?
Yeah. He also
Like,
I mean, it's the extent of the cucking, right? Even the male system is complicit in Bloom not being able to fuck his wife.
I guess.
And it also happens a little earlier in chapter 8, where they put an ad for it underneath Dignam's obituary. Like so the meat, his Plumtree's potted meat is
Man, that
sort
shows
of
up more times
effervescent
than
in the
I
book.
remembered.
Yeah. Again, another great sentence here is that Plumtree's potted meat has proven irresistible to critics, and a number of interpretations have been proposed.
Oh, there you go.
Which makes me wonder about the state of literary criticism.
Okay, so I didn't realize this was a reference to Plumtree potted meat because it says, "All up at a plum tree, Dignam's potted meat."
Yeah, you
Way
gotta-
back
you
in
gotta
like
tie it all
chapter
together.
6. Very subtle reference to Plumtree potted
meat.
meat.
Now, in the academic paper on page 5, it does have a picture of a Plumtree's potted meat, like an artifact from the time.
Oh, let's
So it's
go.
weird talking about something from like 100 years ago as an artifact, but I would guess to be like in 100 years from now, people like looking at a spam can.
How old is Spam? Probably not
World
quite
War
100
II.
years, right?
No, it's World War II.
1937.
Getting there though.
I mean, it's not. It'll keep.
The difference
So-
between modern canned meats and traditional potted meats is that you used to take the lump of meat goo and like cover it in melted fat so that the fat would then congeal to form like an airtight seal to keep out the bacteria.
Cool.
One way of doing it.
Now we just use cans that seal all the way.
Yeah.
So just
Hold on, where are
imagine
we
your
in
hunk
the-
of
in the
spam
contentserver.pdf?
covered in
Page 5,
goo.
top of page 5 where the picture is.
It's on the stream.
That too.
Hold on. Narrative presence disproportionate to the size of the 4-ounce pot.
Yeah.
They mention it like 3 times, and
They
only
mention
to
it like
reinforce...
6 times actually.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Also, the book is like 1,700 pages, so a couple paragraphs
Nick,
about the.
it's more
meat.
times than ounces.
That's true. They're not saying it shows up many times, just that it shows up more times than a 4-ounce pot of meat deserves.
Yeah. Like. Again,
Because a 4-ounce
it's-
pot of meat doesn't really deserve to be mentioned more than like once, perhaps.
Therefore, there are no mistakes, so this has to be intentional.
All mistakes are
Mhm.
divinely inspired.
And if there's intent, that means there's meaning, and if there is meaning, we can do discourse and criticism and analysis of it.
We sure can.
But why?
They'd be out of because it just has to be done.
Because the alternative is that we give in and actually read the next chapter,
Aha.
We're not ready yet.
which I am opposed to for moral reasons.
And so our author of the paper notes that as Joyce depicts the meat, what a phrase, it makes it seem Irish when it's in fact English. It's and as it shows in the picture, it's manufactured in Portland Street in Southport, which is in England. And the address given in Ulysses is just like the Irish office.
Yeah, but I would like to point out he never actually said that it's Irish.
No, but he didn't not say it, so
Damn, you got me.
and again, kind of like I said when we were discussing, is that yeah, like it's a consumer good. It's assuming product was a great way to show that you're middle class, and also like today, cheap canned meats are popular among the working poor as well, because again, it is cheap and it just sort of works. And since this is actually an English product entering an Irish home, this is in fact
Colonialism?
it's colonialism. It's
Wait,
the
wasn't-
imposition of British goods on a domestic market.
Wasn't Boylan British?
Yes. I'm glad you've caught on. The paper does discuss that fact.
So not only is it colonialism of his cupboard and
Yes.
his pantry, it's colonialism
Of
of
his
bed
goddamn wife.
Yes.
and his wife.
truly deep political readings.
Crazy.
And so this alteration, as the author puts it, sort of obscures the politics of the novel, which I guess would help it pass into polite society a little easier at a rather contentious time. And so
Yes. Discussing the socio-political implications of potted meat would prevent Ulysses from passing into polite society, not getting one's vulva fisted.
Look, people in the past and now continue to be weird about what they get mad about.
I think people were also a little upset about the vulva fisting.
Yeah,
Or the
but-
part where the dude squirted fat fucking ropes through his jorts onto the street.
jorts are canon.
Yeah, he didn't actually have jorts, but in my mind he had jorts.
Yes.
Only so with jorts would be the kind of person to shoot ropes over the street.
Yeah, exactly. Hanged or not.
Now we get into the discussion of the sources Joyce used. So he talks about that the directory that our annotations say that yeah Joyce built a lot of his 1904 Dublin using this directory. But it seems that there's a mistake in the address, but that can't be right because there are no mistakes.
Correct.
Uh.
Except
All
for the
mistakes are
ones
divinely inspired,
except for the
meaning-
ones caused by poor OCR.
Yeah. There's nothing sacred about OCR. So therefore, there must have been a second source. I'm on page 7 now of information. And he discusses the sort of exhaustive archival work that was used and how this previous academic work did itself make a mistake when it sort of found a copy of the newspaper, the Evening Telegraph, which claimed to have these ads in it. But that was actually a reproduction designed to make it more like the one that Bloom is reading in chapters throughout the novel.
Oh.
So
Hey guys, I made this fake newspaper to look like the one from Ulysses. How neat.
and then
Oh,
the
hey,
scholar
is that
was
the
like,
newspaper from Ulysses?
and our author here says he could not find a specific newspaper, and that there are discrepancies between how it's described in the book and the actual historical sources, which
This
leads
is-
our author to conclude that there is nothing to suggest then that Joyce introduced error, this productive error, unknowingly. And how else might we explain the alteration?
So this
How
is
would we
an
explain
old
the
version
difference?
of cytogenesis,
Yeah.
Forward.
the XCACD.
But also, this is so funny to me because it's like, it assumes that Joyce could, like, they never consider even for a moment that maybe
That he
Joyce
might
just
just
thought it was an
made
Irish
it up.
product and didn't realize it was English. Of course not.
or that he just chose to do it for aesthetic. That he just didn't want to write the whole thing out.
Yeah.
But also,
He,
again,
like-
he never actually said that it was or was not English in the book. He
No,
didn't
but he only
mention the
gave
country
the
of
Irish
origin.
address, which implicates an inherent Irishness which is not there. And like you said earlier,
He might just not have been able to figure out what the English address was.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely can understand the fact that it shows up so many times is brought in by Blazes Boylan, who is English and is fucking his wife, much like how England was fucking the collective wives of all of Ireland.
and
I'm
that's
not
sort of
saying I don't
discussed
believe it.
on the-
I'm just saying it's kind of funny that they're like, it's gotta mean something. Coincidence? I think not.
and which again leads our essayist to build on some previous scholarship, which to say that perhaps then the analogy between Boylan and Britain is strengthened by the fact that Plumtree's potted meat and Gilbey's invalid port, which is another product that Boylan brought into the home, are English commodities that are quite literally part of the British, quote, invasive colonizing presence. See? You've got the mind of someone who does literary criticism all day.
Fine.
Incredible.
Please make it stop.
And but there's a however. As
There's a
neat as it
however.
may seem, the analogies are on one side, but then it's not so neat because, well, if Boylan's Irishness is called into question by the bringing of English products and his, parental heritage, then we must consider the fact that Bloom's parental heritage is also not wholly Irish.
This we know?
Yes.
Yeah. He's part Jewish. But only like a little bit. He's part Czech?
Yes. His father and definitely his grandfather were Central European. And there's he quotes the text there about how both characters undertook actions that could be considered pro-English. It's considered as the fact that Bloom had stock,
He
British
did have
imperial stock, in Canadian land, which means he would have been financially benefited from colonial expansion in Canada.
Remember
So
when
this is complicated.
Remember when he was like fantasizing about buying a share in an olive farm?
Yes.
Remember when that was that?
Yeah, in
He didn't even
Turkey,
do it.
wasn't
He was just thinking like, how cool would I have been if I had bought a share in an olive farm? Such a boring fantasy. He's not even gonna fantasize about owning an entire olive farm, because he's too cool for that.
No.
What a guy.
Now we've got all that. So there's no straightforward symbolic meaning. There's no evidence to give a clear evidence support of like a sexual reading or a political reading. It's a little too ambiguous, which is correct. And so therefore, we must consider Jameson's approach.
Who?
Frederick Jameson, the guy I mentioned at the start, which is what he'll be. The previous like 8 pages have been like building up to his actual analysis, laying like the groundwork. Like in any. Okay, so here's what everyone else has said. Here's why they're wrong. Here's why my reading is correct.
Uh-huh.
And so suggests that these conventional interpretations that the meat is a symbol of sex, the meat's a symbol of British colonialism, the meat is a symbol
Sex
of
is
anything
a symbol
at all.
of English colonialism.
Yeah. Oh. I don't want to think about that. Is that so they're fundamentally misguided, and so he quotes Jameson's essay here that Ithaca is the climax of a book that reflects the increasing separation under capitalism between the subject and the object. It's great.
What does that mean?
It means that in capitalism and in a consumerist society, even when you are consuming product, like feel something, because that's what you have to do in a consumerist society.
Right.
You it doesn't work. And so you are fundamental. So like over time, as capitalism progresses, and enters later stages of capitalism, we fundamentally become more and more separated and alienated, even from the very products that we are told to consume. Um, which is one of the conditions of that's one of the conditions that Jameson describes as one of the you need that to get postmodernism is like alienation from the active consumption and deep working with products in and of itself.
I like how they they say that like it's some great tragedy, like the loss of connection between consumer and consumed product.
Like,
Well,
oh no, I no longer care about
well, yes.
the brand of bread that I'm eating.
Well, the thing is, this is how far it's gone because like before this, it's like you're alienated from your fellow community, you're alienated from those in your own family unit, and the last thing you can be alienated from, and once you're alienated
The one
from
thing you had
society,
left, potted
is
meat.
product, is product. Which is, if you agree with Jameson's position, once this stage is achieved, there's no going back from it, and then we've hit like the final level of contradiction, and that eventually, inevitably, capitalism will tear itself to pieces because we're all so fucking alienated and cripplingly depressed because we can't even like watch our favorite movies and play with our Bionicles without feeling a crippling sense of alienation, which is fun thing to think about.
I can't get over like first you take my connection to my fellow man, then you take my sense of self, and now you come for my Bionicles. This is the last straw.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, once you've got to this point, like, the person is so broken that they can't do anything, and it just sort of the whole present society just sort of crumbles into just a sadness, and that you, if nothing is done, just everything falls apart, and that's why we have to go and do communism to prevent the complete and utter collapse of society. We can no longer feel anything, and nothing makes us feel anymore.
Not even the potted meat.
Not even the potted meat. Which again, this reading sort of gives a little bit of meaning to the long list of description of objects, because now it's no longer just a list of crap in his house.
It's his identity in
Yes.
capitalist society.
Yes, and as it's
The pornographic postcards
slipping
purchased
away.
from Spain aren't just junk in his junk drawer. They're junk in his soul.
Yes, in his existential existence, and as evidence from this is like it sort of ties into like, okay, these consumer goods, and also the mention of the fact that the water is controlled by a single corporation, and that it costs a lot of money to lay the pipe out, and that there was charges and fees for wasting the water. But our author goes further. Yet Plumtree's potted meat complicates even Jameson's neat argument. All of that spiel I just said about living in a society and the Bionicles and how we're all alienated and that any minute now capitalism is going to collapse under its own contradictions. It's complicated by the goddamn meat.
The goddamn meat. Why must you complicate our postmodern consumerism?
Or critique of the contemporary society.
Our metaphor for the human condition.
Yes. Because that runs into the fact that, again, Joyce, if one of the theses of our author here is that Joyce deliberately made these decisions. So, okay, if Joyce wanted these contradictions in modern society to be so evident, why did he obscure the Englishness of the product, how it got to? It would have been more obvious, is what he's kind of going for here.
That is kind of a good point, because if the potted meat is supposed to be a metaphor for English imperialism, it does seem like most authors would make a point to be, hey, this is English. those of you who are not familiar with the nationalities of the various brands of potted meat, let me simply remark offhand about how the potted meat is imported from England.
Thing is, like, Joyce hasn't sure, he elaborates a lot on like meaningless specifics,
Joyce
but
will
he
never
doesn't provide background.
he will never
really.
elaborate for the sake of clarity.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't actually surprise me that Joyce in particular would just take it as given that yes, this is an English product. Yes, it represents English colonialism by being an English product being brought over to Irish soil.
Yeah, I mean, this is
Well,
the
like-
same guy that just randomly mixes in dialogue in French, Latin, Italian, Irish, like, just to be smug about it.
So saying, well, Joyce didn't point out that it was English. Yeah, he doesn't point out a lot of shit that
Yeah.
would really help.
Yeah, you're right.
That doesn't really prove a whole lot.
Right. So now we're on to the next subhead, which is titled "quote with an abode of bliss," end quote. Science, consumerism, and the ideology of universal improvement.
Ideology.
I love academic writing.
This isn't just academic writing. This is academic writing by Joyce scholars, whose every work they produce can be described only as Joycean.
Right. And so he starts like, okay, so why was Jameson's reading limited, despite it being an advancement? It's like, okay, well, new theories hadn't been developed. In this case, post-colonial theory, and how the novel does sort of take an anti-imperial dimension to it. And here he's focusing how the style of this chapter itself is anti-imperialistic by drawing on another academic paper called a book, Joyce's Revenge.
Oh, that sounds like a good book.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me
Gibson
give
was
that a
generally
quick
inattentive,
Google.
to the novel's anti-imperial dimensions, and it was not until Gibson's Joyce's Revenge in 2002 that the specific politics of the Ithacan stylistic assault was brought into relief.
Ithacan stylistic assault.
Ithaca is the name of the chapter, and the style of Ithaca is in catechisms.
Why is this book $75 for a hardcover?
Jesus.
Mhm.
Or
An
60
academic text.
60 Oh. Yeah, this is a textbook.
It's academic writing, so
That's
it's
cheap
priced
for
at
a
a premium.
textbook.
It's like someone's,
300
PhD
pages.
thesis.
Yeah, 67 for a paperback. 63 for the ebook. Got a 2-star rating.
Steal!
It's got 1 5-star and 3 1-star reviews.
Perfectly balanced. So in this book, according to our author here, is that throughout this chapter in particular, there's a lot of scientific terminology that's just used incorrectly, even compared to the rest of it.
Yeah,
lots
because
of facts in this book
he's
are
trying
just-
to
in this
emphasize the
particular
fact that
aggressively
Bloom doesn't
wrong.
know what he's talking about.
Right. But in this chapter, he's more wrong than usual.
Yeah, because he's thinking more than usual.
Yes. And despite Bloom thinking he's very correct, and so therefore, our author says that Gibson is politicizing Joyce's critique of the scientific method by locating it within a contemporary colonial context.
How dare he?
Yeah. And
That
so the claim to
bastard.
scientific objectivity was an imperial claim, and an accompanying promise of universal progress belied self-serving motives, particularly in trade and industry.
Wait, was that a way of saying science is colonialism?
I mean, science as it was applied in the colonial era hated colonialism.
They colonialized science.
Yes, they made
They
it
didn't
like
colonize science. They colonialized it. Very
Yes.
different.
It's different. They took what should be a rational, objective way of looking at the universe and bent it towards their will to exercise their own power. Remember, this is the Victorian, or coming out of the Victorian era, which is when race science was popping off. Race science not being real science and invented to justify colonialism. I know we had a discourse about this a while back when that very earnest Twitter account was like, science is inherently colonial. It's like, no. It was, the thing was used as a tool of it, because everything can be used as a tool of the powers that be.
What's incredible about colonialism, an ideology about taking things over, is it's very good at taking things over, including things and concepts.
Big if true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, again, just sort of condense, is sort of critique of the idea of the universal march of progress, which was very popular in the Enlightenment period. Which, makes sense. When especially in the latter half of the 19th and early 20th century, there's a lot of destabilization going on. The colonial wars are getting nastier. Kids' arms are getting ripped apart in factories. Is this actually progress?
Ted Kaczynski says no.
And also, even if you consider when the book was actually written, World War I, World War I pretty much killed the idea of the universal march of progress. It's like, oh,
this is what we're progressing towards.
Yeah.
Yikes.
This is what science has brought us.
Cringe.
Mustard gas and trenches.
Hey, don't forget the man-portable flamethrower.
Yes. And then and then we had to learn this lesson again in World War II, where the March of Progress bought an industry and the timetable and the train and
then the atom bomb.
And the atom bomb. And so
Cherry on top.
Yes. Which is, again, sort of part of the postmodern sort of critique of modernism, because modernism comes from the Enlightenment. There's this unified thing. It's like, hey, is there? Is everything marching all at the same time in one clear direction, or is it just a goddamn mess? Right. Let's just skip down a little more. And to sort of draw upon this, or tie this a little more into the novel, he says some contemporary advertisements of the time, which Joyce would have been reading, and and to fit the character of Bloom as an ad man. This is now we're outside the text entirely at this point. That a soap ad had the slogan of the formula of British conquest. And that
That's not very subtle.
Yeah. And Bovril ad that said, "What the soldiers say about Bovril? Always first to the wounded soldiers. Bovril and the soldiers." This is during the Boer War, which does come up as a subject in the book. So this is all the stuff that's floating in the background that probably might have informed Joyce. Notice how I said might have, to make the decisions about the potted meat. Remember, we're talking about potted meat here. We're 12 pages in. And another, so it's so consuming product not only is tied to empire, or that it's deliberately seen as part of civilization. Another soap ad, the slogan, the birth of civilization, which the image, as it's described, is you've got depicting a loinclothed black man, spear in hand, gazing aloft at a bar of Pear's soap. Beneath the picture, the caption reads, "The consumption of soap is a measure of the wealth, civilization, health, and purity of the people."
The white man's burden actually refers to the big bag of soap that they're carrying around.
That just kind of shows, okay, so these ideas were everywhere. I mean, we still see it now. How many products are now sold, as attached to, military tough, troop tough. Which, I mean, as anyone who works in defense knows, mil-spec means lowest bidder.
Yeah. By the 1980s, though, they at least come up with the idea of subtlety.
Yeah.
It's impressive that we had to work up to the sort of egregious ads where they're, especially for, conservative products. I love that now.
Yeah, they no longer just say like the official soap of genocide.
Yeah.
Because suddenly genocide became bad for business
Mm.
after someone took it just a smidge too far.
Right. And again, it's sort of with the science stuff, a lot of these products were like, like the joke about old timey products were like Dr. Bilius's definitely real medicine.
Scientifically formulated to purge all illnesses.
Yeah, stuff like that.
The final solution for constipation.
God.
Yeah, which it's again sort of remember the Dr. Tibble's Vicoco, which like even our annotations were like we had no idea what this is.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the thing is, so these ads would have been placed in Irish papers, which kind of lends to like colonial context, which complicates the idea of Bloom being wholly anti-British. It's like if he works in ads and he's selling ads that with like presumably this kind of sloganeering on them, like buying British products is a symbol of being a good person.
Not
and
only
you are
is
civilized.
not only is he not immune to propaganda, he is actively a part of it.
Yes. Yeah. So. Yeah, which leads to our author be like, it need hardly be pointed out that the claims are disingenuous. If consumer goods such as Bovril truly did offer, quote, progress and improved quality of life, they did not so to that end. But as part of an imperial economy that depended upon trade supremacy and the maintaining of colonial consumer markets.
What a sentence.
What a sentence. We don't get sentences like this in casual conversation because we normally breathe while we're talking.
Not me. I would never.
Breathe, air, birds farted that, you know.
Gross.
And so these facts, these deliberately wrong things that Joyce has slipped into the text as Bloom thoughts, is disrupting the idea, which of the particular as the universal. Basically, it's like say by being deliberately wrong, he's disrupting the idea of that the British experience is universal. He did a your experiences are not universal with clapping emojis by simply having by Plumtree's Potted Meat not say it's English. Incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah. James Joyce defeated Tumblr teen discourse 100 years before Tumblr was a thing.
Powerful.
He truly is. He is ascended beyond time and space.
From now on, whenever I see bad takes of that sort, I will simply just respond, read Joyce.
Yeah, honestly, read a second book and hopefully it's Joyce. And now we're gonna skip a little bit forward.
Okay.
Because it's more like historical context that around the time that the real world time where the book time is set, like events were happening, like it wasn't a random date. Like they were celebrating Victoria's Jubilee again. So Ireland would have been more British than usual around this time, which is why remember that scene of the Lord Mayor like walking down the street and we spend like 20 pages following a parade of people we don't know about.
Yeah, we're like, that was the one where it was a whole bunch of little vignettes, right?
Yes.
That we all got super confused trying to figure out because they
Was
are
that
broken
the one
up.
You did
Yeah, we did the
the
map.
graph thing for.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
because like they're still shown as paragraph breaks, I was going crazy trying to figure out like what paragraph, like, because I knew there were only 18 chapters, but I'm like, I've counted like 12 chapters in the past 40 pages. What's going on? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of that map. I should put that up on the screen. Let me see if I can find it.
Publish that.
Make it all nice and put it into a poster.
Yeah. and our authors like, the fact that the Irish didn't like the fact that this meat celebration, because it came from Australia, and they're like, hey, this is just meat from one colony sent to another colony and to celebrate the colonizer. But our author's like, but what does this have to do with the Bovril?
What does this have to do with the Bovril? Also, what's a Bovril?
Not
It's a
much. What's a
drink.
Bovril with you?
Ooh.
I have no idea what it actually tastes like or contains, but I just
Got-a.
know it's a British drink.
Yes. And
A
our
thick
author's like,
and salty meat extract paste, similar to a yeast
Oh.
extract.
That is nasty.
I guess you could drink it.
is it like one of those things where you like
Bovril
mix it
can be
with
made
water?
into a drink by diluting it with hot water, or less commonly, milk.
Ugh.
Bovril.
Can be used as a
That's
flavoring for soups, broth, stews, or porridge, or as a
Okay,
spread.
that at least makes sense.
Ew.
Still,
Gross.
it is sold in
and-
a distinctive bulbous jar and as cubes and granules.
Good stuff.
Yuck.
It's meat paste.
This
If you
episode
can
not
make
brought
into-
to you by Bovril.
Yeah.
Why are the British so disgusting?
Well, the thing is, as a meat product, and our author here is like, wait a minute, meat product. That means Bovril would have also been made from Australian and colonial meat products. Therefore, it all ties together, and Joyce is a genius this entire time.
Hold on. Important sentence from
Oh.
the Wikipedia article. Bovril holds the unusual distinction of having been advertised with a pope. An advertising campaign of the early 20th century in Britain depicted Pope Pope Leo the 13th seated on his throne bearing a mug of Bovril. The campaign slogan read, "The two infallible powers, the Pope and Bovril."
Wow.
The beverage made
What?
from hot water and Bovril is referred to as beef tea.
I'm gonna put that image in book club.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that they ate a lot during the war, because why else would you drink meat tea, when you can't have real meat? Oh, you want the sludge that came off the floor of the beef factory with some hot water?
Hell yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
man, I got nothing else to eat.
All right, we're running out of
This or literally
space. I'm
nothing.
gonna delete the gummies. And this dude.
Also, this advertisement is very strangely grim.
Oh, is it the cow that's... yeah, the cow's like, oh boy, I can't wait to become buff.
Boy, I
wonder if
sure
that
do
was
want
ins-
to become beef paste.
You
I
know,
wonder if that's partial inspiration for the cow that wanted to be eaten in Hitchhiker's
I
Guide
was
to the
going to
Galaxy.
reference that exactly. I
Yeah,
was going to say he was inspired by this sort of thing.
What a vile nation England is. Really repugnant.
This is perhaps the most egregious of all of their sins.
Yeah. Alright, anyway, back to colonialism. Leads another to a great sentence here. Joyce perfectly critiques Bovril. What a beautiful. Juxtaposing it with the Jubilee Mun, although he leaves comparison.
You cut
What?
out there.
Genius
You
that
cut
he
out
critiqued
there.
it in such a way that only me, a smart person, could see it.
How disgustingly smug.
Joyce scholars, man, they're all like that.
You kind of have to be in order to be at Joyce's level. Like you have to become the thing you seek to destroy. Beware those who read James Joyce lest you become him. I don't intend to get eye-exploding disease.
You're not gonna
Try
get
to avoid
congenital
that.
syphilis.
No. Also, apparently, Joyce was very far-sighted, and I'm extremely nearsighted, so we're very far apart on that. His glasses were plus 17, mine are minus 4. Right, so now he's sort of combined, and that's how he draws it into a conclusion. He combines the materialist sort of approach of Jameson with this historical approach of this Gibson guy. He's taken these two schools of thought, he's brought them together, and I'm going to read the conclusion paragraph now, so you can get onto the erotic fanfiction.
Okay.
Approach through Jameson's radically materialist reading of Ithacan objects, and Gibson's more historically nuanced reading of the chapter's simultaneous gesture towards and subversion of the language and form of imperial science, Plumtree's potted meat emerges as a paradigmatic commodity. Manipulation of the Ithaca episode exposes the hypocrisy of imperial consumerist ideologies. The claim that commodification is driven by an altruistic desire to improve people's quality of life, just as imperial expansion is driven by the wish to spread the light of civilization. At the very best, we see this, quote, improvement is only incidental to the empire's driving forces of expansion, domination, and wealth. At worst, it is economic means by which Ireland's colonial subservience is maintained. Joyce's account of the production of Plumtree's potted meat is far from incomplete. It introduces a most productive error. And this is, again, last paragraph of the essay, Plumtree's Potted Meat, the Productive Error of the Commodity in Ulysses, by Matthew Hayward from the University of the South Pacific in Suva, Fiji.
This guy wrote 7,000 words about how Bloom didn't say that potted meat was Irish, but he also didn't say it wasn't. 7,000 words.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, there's some notes. If you want to go through those. I don't. But
I'm
you can read
good.
them. And he's got a citation. Say, look, he's got like, he's got two pages of citations, so that's pretty good.
That's how you know you can trust him.
Yeah. He's got his notes.
Who would
and
lie
again,
about this?
Yeah.
Who would lie about potted meats?
Yeah, this isn't a guy who he didn't, unlike like the fake vaccine doctor. He didn't like patent an alternative to the vaccine like 6 months before. He didn't have like nobody's making money off of this, so there's no reason to be corrupt or disingenuous. And you're not going to become like a famous superstar of the academic world by writing a paper where you write 20 pages on Plumtree's potted meat and the significance thereof.
I like this title from the work cited. James Joyce's Womanly Wandering Jew, from Jews and Gender, Responses to Otto Weininger.
Well, that's good. When it's a response to another academic work, got some. Yeah.
It is a collection of works in
literary-
response to.
Yeah.
Literary criticism drama.
Yes.
Things are heating up in the Joyce fandom. I wonder if there's ever been like actual fandom drama around Ulysses.
I mean, other than when it was like first published, no.
Doesn't count as a fandom.
I don't know.
Was
other
there
than,
a-
like the
Was
other than,
there
like, a
actually
general,
like
this is actually a load of bullshit versus no, this is actually really deep.
I'm curious how Ulysses was like received by like the masses when it was new. Cause I know the scholars loved it, but was everyone else just like, this is weird, I don't get it?
Yeah, well, sounds like you've got a topic for a paper to write.
No.
That sounds like a topic of study. Right, so that's the academic discussion for part one of tonight's episode of Book Club. You want to do a brief intermission while we get ready for part two?
Yeah, let's talk about
Taking a
VTubers.
bathroom break. Yeah.
Oh,
Go
okay,
do that.
go
Yeah,
take a
take a
bathroom break
break.
if you want. Apparently,
Uh-huh.
U.S. District Judge John M. Woolsey's ruling that Ulysses was not pornographic. Oh my god! The court case was United States The one book called Ulysses.
What,
This
like,
was one of
in
those things
same
where
sort
they-
of way they do.
This is one of
civil
those things
asset
where they
forfeiture?
sued the book itself, probably to stop
Because
it.
James Joyce is not an American citizen and therefore is not under legal jurisdiction
So-
of the U.S. courts.
Well, I presume what happened was someone tried to import the book.
Uh-huh.
When things get stopped at customs, they were allowed to sue the thing itself. So they sued the book.
Yep.
And then the judge ruled in favor of the book. I wonder if they let it testify.
Wouldn't that just be reading from it?
Yes. Now,
I imagine if you are suing the book based on its content, then reading its content would be prime evidence.
so this was actually a significant case because this set the precedent
I
that
imagine it would
obs-
in like the area of censorship.
yeah, it basically this established a distinction between obscenity and pornography.
Ah.
Basically they ruled that no one could get off to Ulysses, so it was not pornographic.
The judge is just like, trust me, I tried.
Yeah. In 1920, this periodical published the Nausicaa episode, which contained a masturbation scene. Copies were mailed to potential subscribers. A girl of unknown age read it and was shocked, and a complaint was made to the Manhattan District Attorney. As the magazine could be purchased in a New York bookshop and the Little Review, the publisher was based in the city. Wait. The publisher... What? Oh. And the Little Review, the publisher, was based in the city. The local district attorney was able to prosecute in New York. Little Review publishers could not argue that the chapter should be considered in light of the work as a whole, as only the offending chapter was published in the magazine issue in question. So in 1922 they lost the case, and then 1932, they specifically arranged to have the book imported into the U.S. with the intent of having customs seize it, so they would then have standing to fight the case.
Wow. Huh. That's some fuck shit.
The U.S. attorney assigned to the case felt that it was a literary masterpiece, but also still argued it was obscene under U.S. law. Very funny.
I do like it's not pornography because no one could get off to this.
Yeah, basically. So, specifically, it was not obscene because it did not promote lust. Like, Andrew, as a fairly lustful individual,
Yes.
has Ulysses aroused you?
Not directly, no.
Exactly. Even the part where the dude came through his pants onto the street and then women picked it up with their handkerchiefs?
Not really.
Not
Right.
really? Hold on, why'd you have to stop and think about it?
Well, I was trying to put myself back into the position
Ah.
when we got
Right,
to that
right.
part. To make sure I wasn't just reacting within the present moment.
Yeah, you had to channel the you that you once were. So you want to hear about an interesting coincidence that, in the spirit of Joyce, could not possibly be a coincidence and must mean something very deep?
Do tell.
Alright, so I have been following an indie VTuber on Twitter
Uh-huh.
for a couple weeks, I guess. They were so the new thing is that VTubers start streaming before they debut.
Like just without the model?
So usually what you do is you get the art, you get like a PNG of the character, and you start streaming with that. And
just
then
put it in the corner.
you put it in the corner, and then you get the model, and you just keep streaming. And then once you're like ready, you're like, okay, it's debut time, and it's less of it's like how games come out before they're out. Like it's early access, but you know it's early access VTubers.
I know what some businesses will do. Will like they'll just soft open.
Yeah.
Like
And there's-
break the store in, work out any kinks, and then announce a grand opening, which is when
Right.
it's officially open, even though they've been open for weeks.
Yeah, a lot of VTubers do the same thing. So I've been following this VTuber on Twitter. Watched her debut. And then she said on Twitter that she was taking a couple days off, and then she came back and she's like, I found out that my model was traced from one of the Hololive girls.
Oh, shit.
So I'm not going to use it anymore. I don't know if I'll be coming back with a new model anytime soon. I hope people will still watch me. And so I was like, you know, I have seen a Hololive stream or two.
Which one?
I did not recognize your model as a Hololive model. So we pulled it up on our new 4K TV.
Okay.
Put her on the left and cycled through Hololive girls on the right.
Uh-huh.
In my professional opinion, the model was not a trace. You can't trace models anyway because you don't see all of them at once, and you can't trace it because you still have to split up the layers and all that. But she definitely does have the same exact hands and calves of none other than Kiryu Coco.
Huh.
Which was just, like, so weird to me because, like, if you're gonna trace a VTuber's hands, you could just trace any VTuber's hands. Also, like, the model wasn't bad, but it was not nearly the same quality as the Hololive models. So it's like, you're not even gonna be as good as them, so why not pick a more obscure set of hands to trace? Anyway, the very next day, Coco announces that she's going to be graduating.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And-
That's the story.
This is a coincidence that means nothing, but you're suggesting might mean something.
There's no such thing as coincidences. Here's my theory. When Peng contacted the artist to request a refund, the artist put out a hit on Coco. Because if Coco is gone, then the hands and calves once again become original. Who traces calves? Like,
I don't think that's how art ownership works.
No, it is. If you kill them, you get their art. It's the Highlander rule. Yeah, okay, I get tracing, like, hands. Hands are hard. Now, obviously, tracing art is bad, especially if you're going to sell that art to someone else for commercial use.
It's suggesting that, like, your art is original.
Yeah, if someone pays you for original art and you sell them a trace, that's bad.
Yes.
But
Well, it is both art theft and fraud.
yeah, which are like two bad things at once. Anyway, I forgot what I was saying. Who traces calves? They weren't even like particularly nice calves. Like they just are calves. I get hands because no one can draw hands. Faces are hard, but the face was not a trace. Totally different face, totally different hair, different outfit. Like roughly similar anatomy, but like not the same enough to be a trace. Definitely like anatomy I think was referenced. Totally different thighs though.
I'm like,
On
most
that
of the time,
note,
the character is like seen from like chest up, so you're not going to see the hands and the calves.
yeah. let's take a
Like,
minute.
she could have just bought new hands and calves.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, you could just buy new hands. You don't need to get the whole thing redone because, like, most of it's original. Now, out of respect for the VTuber, I'm not going to put a model up on stream. But
Yeah.
I want to talk about Coco's thighs.
Okay. A good discussion, I suppose.
Hold, come on. Open. What the fuck? Why are you doing this? Save image. It won't.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
It won't
We're
take it.
discussing Coco's thighs.
Oh, okay. This is the plagiarism and the spinning up right now.
Yes.
Okay.
And the conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. All right. We're going to talk about Coco's thighs.
Respectfully.
I am staring respectfully.
So they're thick enough to smoosh,
Yes.
but there's still a
Uh,
thigh gap. So they come together and then they diverge once again. Like,
Yeah, they're doing both skin dentation and thigh gap, which is an interesting choice.
I had never looked that closely until I was like, do these characters have the same thighs? No, they do have the same calves. Like this. Oh, you can't see my mouse, can you?
No.
But the calves, the same. Different feet, different tail, different clothes, the same hands, the same like shoulder dimensions, I guess. Same neck, but every single VTuber I've ever seen has had the exact same neck. Different face, different hair.
Well, except for the loopy loop.
The same ahoge. Which was how I first, as I was going through, I'm like, clearly not the same, clearly not the same, clearly not the same. Wait a second. I've seen that ahoge. Which, like, all you have to do to draw an ahoge is just go like, whoop, whoop.
Yeah,
Why
they're
would you
not very
copy
difficult
that?
to draw.
Like, hang on. Here, I'm gonna draw an ahoge. You ready?
Yeah.
It will
Ready.
probably take me more time to get OBS to show paint than it will to draw an ahoge. Window capture. Window capture. Draw. Where's my... Oh. That doesn't count. That wasn't my ahoge. Boop.
Well, it's not on
Whoop.
the stream yet.
Done. Drawn. There you go. That's an original ahoge. Work of art. Right here. It's go like whoop, whoop, whoop. That like they can just look like whatever. They can actually just be anything. It's just supposed to be a little bit of hair.
Yeah.
Why would you trace that? Why? Anyway. That concludes our conversation.
So, on to the erotica.
Yes, I will repost it so it's easier to find.
Do you want me to read the erotica? Seeing that you are dedicated to a life free of sin?
I mean, you're gonna need probably more than one person. So if only there was a third person here.
I will gladly help you read erotica.
Where did Nick go?
He
Uh,
left.
Well,
out of
he
cowardice.
got dumped into what is now called Shark Brain Corner.
when did we rename the voice channels
What?
to be VTuber
Don't
related?
say we.
Well, it
Say
wasn't.
we.
It wasn't
That
me.
wasn't you.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I did it. I renamed all of the channels, but all of the text channels, and then named them back. And then I guess at some point later, it must have been Nick. Hang on, let me check the audit logs. Server settings. Audit logs. Wait, what? Audit log. What? It won't let me see the audit log because I'm in streamer mode. Okay, whatever. Disable. Server settings. Audit log. Oh, maybe it was. It must have also been an April Fool's thing. Oh yeah, yeah. Nick did that. I didn't do that. Nick did that.
Hmm.
Anyway, I have read and understood the new terms of service and privacy policy. Let me in.
Yeah.
In authentic, verbose, catechistic Q&A style.
Mhm.
Let's go.
I think someone should write Daedalus/Bloom slash in the style of the Ithaca episode, where by someone I meant someone who actually knows Ulysses really well and could do it right. And I thought, well, no one is doing it.
Just gotta do
Disclaimer:
it.
I am not James Joyce.
All right. Hopefully we don't get DMCA'd for this. So
It's
this
fan fiction,
this takes place
and the work is public domain, so
immediately after. Okay, so you remember when Steven and Bloom go out into the backyard and they gaze
in the
into each
pale
other's
moonlight.
eyes in the moonlight and they whip out their cocks and then they pee simultaneously. And then we're like, they should have fucked. Well, this person is like, They
Someone
fucked.
fortunately agreed with us.
all right, so let's do this. Someone read the Q, and I'll read the A.
I'll take the cues then. I
All right.
guess.
Hang on. Let me try
Were
and
they in?
let me try and put this up on the
Gotcha. I'll let you do that.
on the thingy.
do we gotta tag this stream not safe for work now because this is rated explicit. Consider this a content warning to any children in the.
Oh, I'll leave.
I think that all of my
Congrats.
stream retweet if you think. I'm pretty sure all of my streams are tagged 18 plus.
That's good.
But I don't know
Really,
how to
hoping good
check.
for the tribunal.
Oh yeah. If I didn't get banned for the tribunal, I
I think you can get away with reading
think I can get away with
Joycean slash Vic.
Joycean slash Fic. Exactly. Hey, I'm only 27 followers away from unlocking the VIP button.
Incredible.
Cool. All right, I don't know how to make a thing 18 plus, but I'm pretty sure it already is. And if not,
Alright.
children, don't tell your parents that you're here, or me. Go away. Shouldn't you be playing
Today.
Fortnite? All right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Sorry, I got
Did you
distracted.
get it up yet?
No, you. I mean, I got it up.
Not. God damn it.
We have fun here.
Fuck.
Oh, hold on. He's dead.
I'm having a moment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can't see him, but imagine a man who's very
Bright
red
red.
right now.
Wait.
Oh.
Why?
Do you have the blush button set up for Polychan, or is that an advanced setting out of it the mere mortals?
I mean, I could do it, but I haven't done it.
Oh,
OBS won't see Firefox. I don't know
Do
why.
not see it.
It just doesn't show up in the list of things.
You
What?
could download the page as PDF.
That's true. That is an option.
It's right there at the top right where it says download. And you click
Yeah.
PDF.
Right. Well, while we're filling for time, this is it's an explicit rating. There are no archive warnings chosen. It is male on male. The fandom is Ulysses James Joyce. That phrase, fandom, Ulysses James Joyce. I mean, I gotta
Oh, wait, I found it.
the Ulysses fandom is dying. Sheriff, you're a true Bloomhead or whatever. Uh,
I like how if you click relationship, this is the only
it's
entry.
the only one. It was written in 2016. There's 2,000 words. There are 7
Oh, it's-
comments, which I
hang on.
absolutely
This is the
do
wrong
need. What
window.
I'm going to read
Jesus
right
Christ.
now.
53 works that contain Leopold Bloom.
Well, there is another character called Leopold Bloom. That's
Oh,
not
really?
our Leopold. Yeah, Leopold Bloom was the name of Gene Wilder's character in Producers. So it
Ah.
might be getting confused there.
Possibly.
Because like the producers, since it was turned into a stage musical, it would be some appeal between the people who watch show tunes and write on AO3.
Speaking of show tunes, Brandon
Oh.
and I.
Yes. Well, you watched it for the first time. This was my second viewing.
So
Cats 2019 for
Yeah.
the watch
Oh, God.
along of Ina and
Ina and Kiara did a watch
Yes.
along of Cats 2019.
So
Yeah.
I recall.
So
It was great. I had fun. It
Shit
was more
sucked.
fun in the theater. I'll give you that much.
once the gin hit, I had more fun. It got carried like hard by the fact that the songs just are kind of good. Very interesting film. I like the part where someone does a fancy tap dance move, but the camera is just pointed directly at their face, so you can't see their feet. Which is exactly what you want during a tap dancing.
Yeah, the Kimball Shanks the Railway Cat number.
Yeah. Show me his goddamn feet.
Your feet.
What really made the experience fun was refreshing the VT thread. As they all
They were
lost
all
their
dying.
goddamn minds, yeah. And people kept going. People kept talking about toxoplasmosis. Gura, I just contracted toxoplasmosis. Let's fucking go. I do have toxoplasmosis now from that movie.
All right.
All right.
You ready?
Looks like you
Let's-
got yourself set
let's
up.
go.
Shall we begin?
Yes.
Were they indefinitely inactive?
At Stephen's suggestion, at Bloom's instigation both. First Stephen, then Bloom, in penumbra urinated, their sides contiguous, their organs of micturition reciprocally rendered invisible by manual circumposition, their gazes, first Bloom's, then Stephen's, elevated to the projected, luminous and semi-luminous shadow.
Similarly,
The trajectories of their first sequent, then simultaneous, urinations were dissimilar. Bloom's longer, less irruent, in the incomplete form of the bifurcated penultimate alphabetical letter. Who, in his ultimate year at high school, 1880, had been capable of attaining the point of greatest altitude against the whole concurrent strength of the institution, 210 scholars. Stevens higher, more sibilant, who in the ultimate hours of the previous day had augmented by diuretic consumption and insistent vesical pressure. Now, I want to remind people, we haven't gotten to the fan fiction part yet. This is verbatim.
Oh, this is already amazing.
This is verbatim from the actual book.
Wait, this was a bit from the book right here.
Yes. This was from, like, near the end of chapter 17.
All right.
I'll tell you once it diverges.
All right. What different problems presented themselves to each concerning the invisible, audible, collateral organ of the other?
To Bloom, the problems of irritability, tumescence, rigidity, reactivity, dimension, sanitariness, pelosity. To Stephen, the problem of the sacerdotal integrity of Jesus circumcised, 1st January, holiday of obligation to hear Mass and abstain from unnecessary servile work. And the problem as to whether the divine prepuce, the carnal bridal ring of the Holy Roman Catholic Apostolic Church, conserved in Calcutta, were deserving of simple hyperduly or of the 4th degree of latria accorded to the abscission of such divine excrescences as hair and toenails. Truly the
What a-
duality of man right there.
Hair and toenails.
Well, no. Bloom, thinking about cocks. The irritability, tumescence, rigidity, reactivity, dimension, sanitariness, pelosity. Meanwhile, Stephen is like, was Jesus circumcised? Which apparently is a topic of debate in the Catholic canon.
By what event was Stephen's course of associative ideation disrupted?
The simultaneous cessation of flow by mutual bulbocavernosal action, which by perceptile change of state caused Stephen to consider anew the changed objects, attending now to their capacity as producers of primary sense impressions rather than their capacity to excite the understanding.
His contentions?
That from the low, heavy tone just produced by Bloom, one could divine some aspects of that tone's source and its geometry, by analogy to the relative dimensions of those devices which convert airflow into melody. That in terms of this construction, Bloom's fluent, spongiosal resonating body corresponded to the contrabassoon, or tuba, as contrasted with the flute, or piccolo. That these acoustical propensities could be altered by erection, by inadvertent injury, or by covenantal circumcision. That Abraham and his male descendants thus distinguished themselves by a higher, emictive pitch, as did also those men not among the aforementioned, who were born into the household of the aforementioned, or bought with money by the same. That this, perhaps, prefigured the high diffuse spatter-sounding tinkle of Sanctus bells, as Jonah's confinement for 3 days and 3 nights formed the type, or figura rerum, of Christ's burial and subsequent resurrection. That the evident import of this last conjecture supplied sufficient reason to verify or disprove the original premise by direct investigation.
What disruption in the symmetry of the two parallel bodies was occasioned by the asymmetry in contemporaneous cogitation?
Cogitation. Cogitation is a fancy word that means thinking, or thought. By an abrupt, furtive motion, made with superlative care, Stephen's head turned along an oblique plane to point aside and down. Whereupon, okay, this is the part where it diverges.
Right.
Interestingly enough, they have done well to match the terrible writing. Concealed by the curved shadow of Bloom's still proximate hand, its remaining part barely visible under the commingled starlight and paraffin light, but this part was, as supposed, extensive in length, being also considerable in girth, flaccid in vascular state, uncut in covenantal, don't you mean covenantal? State.
So,
Mistakes are divinely inspired.
Does that apply
So,
to fan fiction as well?
when you're channeling Joyce. Stevens peeking a glimpse. Did Bloom remain ignorant of this development?
By use of the limited powers of his extrafoveal retina, Bloom discerned the presence of motion to his side without forming any impression of the motive body. With the quickness assumed by the human animal under these conditions, which quickness ably equipped Bloom for adroitness of flight, if confronted by a felid or canid of the larger kind. I can't fucking do this, man! This sounds so much like Joyce, I'm going insane! A mature ursid of any species, or a conspecific animated by racial, national, or creedal enmity, or by the like of
Breathe, Alex.
He's dead. Hold on.
I'm losing my
you
fucking
good?
mind over this shit. Or by the like effects of private passions, he reflexively turned to meet Stephen's downturned gaze.
The consequences for Bloom.
A lightness in the head, a sudden fierce ruddy hotness of the cheeks, a stillness of the limbs, a quickness and irregularity in the heartbeat, an unaccountable tumescence.
This is what you really need the Bloom Chan blush for. The consequences for Steven.
The same.
Next.
After a brief silent pause, Stephen kissed each of Bloom's ruddy cheeks in sequence. Which cheeks? Then each again according to the same scheme. Then finally pressed his lips against Bloom's for a culminative and sustained osculation, which Bloom received willingly, although without reciprocal motion.
What exculpatory arguments did Stephen now produce, and in what manner?
With quick, breathless speech, Stephen expounded upon the kiss as practice, having a multitude of non-contiguous teloi, producing as exemplar the consanguous non-erotic kisses of Joseph and his kin, the affinitive kiss of Jonathan and David, the greeting kiss in general, and the kiss of peace in particular, the Christ-betraying kiss of Judas, a sin great but not lustful. With which catalogue having been exhausted, he turned without delay to the ingestive history of himself and Bloom, as restricted to the date of 16 June 1904, attending in particular to their indulgence in beer, wine, and spirits. Okay, hold on. Their
Decommus.
indulgence? Bloom did not indulge.
Also
So,
true.
get your facts straight, man.
This person's a fake fan.
Fake fan! Beer, wine, and spirits, and the variegated pattern in which those three beverages had been commingled. I don't know if that's true. Whatever. We won't let a little thing like narrative continuity interfere with r/fic. Thus rendering likely a correlative disorder in the nervous system, which, when compounded by continued profound intoxication, could cause for man to act not in accordance with his own nature, or even with any other nature, but with motions purely erratic which could not be illuminated by dwelling upon them, and would be passed over without undue reflection by the wise and temperate, nearly in fact as though it had not occurred.
What changes were undertaken by Stephen's oration as it neared the end of its course?
It became a mumbling, fumbling, bumbling, crumbling edifice, tumbling towards shame-faced silence. Damn, this guy's got some bars.
With what? So, hang on. I first want to say, like, what's actually impressive about this is, like, in my mind's eye, I am actually able to picture the scene here quite well for as hard of prose as it is to understand.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I can also picture
shit.
this being in the book, because
Yeah.
it's written in such a similar style.
Alright, what changes were undertaken by... Oh, wait, you already read that. With what was this void filled?
With Bloom's looming bulk advancing to meet its target, which, having touched it, continued to touch and kiss with an abandon in which most, if not all, normal and reasonable observers would discern elements of Eros.
Did the two of them resume their previous positions?
No, for the experience transfixed both with such variety and intensity of sensations that directed ambulation was beyond their remaining powers, which were in fact limited to the production of halting, overlapping fragments of speech.
On which topics?
Bloom's suspicions regarding Marion Bloom and Blaze's boy. Okay, this obviously is fan fiction because he would never acknowledge that aloud.
Hmm.
The elusiveness of sustained satisfaction in conjugal relations. Malachi Mulligan's allegations concerning Bloom's interest in the posterior caudal regions of certain Greek statues on display in the National Museum, and Mulligan's inferences therefrom. The buttocks as curiosity in human anatomy, possessing a round womanly softness even in many men, in opposition to the stark dimorphism of the breasts. The relative erotic appeal of these two opposed parts, Bloom admitting to strong partisanship for the former, indeed almost a nationalism for that dear motherland with its gently rolling fields. Which is interesting because Bloom is distinctly lacking any true nationalism, given that he doesn't himself have a nation. The distinctively unwomanly firmness exhibited now by both in the anterior counterpart to the aforementioned feature, itself felt in each by each alone, and also in each by each other, owing to their present proximity, the fellow feeling held by each for the other, their simultaneous insistent need for erotic release, the possibilities on which these diverse lines of reflection converged, the pederasty practiced even by those Greeks without whom St. Thomas Aquinas could not have been, the prudence of obtaining cover even beyond the cover of night, the house where Marion was asleep, and with the exertion of sufficient care would remain in that state.
You know the meme where it's party rockers in the house tonight, and another character corrects them and says party rock is, and then they kiss. I'm imagining that, but with Bloom and Steven. What was revealed therein?
The fully unclothed figures of both. Stevens appreciated by Bloom both for its lack of definitively masculine musculature and for the symmetric harmonious quaternarial curve between his virtually rectilinear back and calves. Bloom's appreciated by Steven for the still remaining evidence of Eugen Sando's indirect ameliorative effect upon Bloom's muscular composition. Oh man, what a fucking throwback. Eugene Sando's book of, exercises to do at home was a thing that Bloom mentioned earlier in the chapter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember that?
Vaguely.
And more forcefully by Bloom's generative organ, once glimpsed in limp postomictive form, now raised to its full operative height.
Its dimensions?
Between 18 and 19 centimeters from base to tip. A median width of 2 centimeters as a nearly exact figure, and a circumference between 12 and 13 centimeters, slightly upward curving in its distal half, having a bulbous head in conformance with the human norm, but nonetheless skewed towards overall sustained girth, the head thus playing a role in the composition without dominating it, that composition in toto being of the kind often rashly likened to that of various male animals, reputed for their virility, although more careful and scientific observation reveals that even the most domestic even the modest domestic boar typically achieves twice Bloom's linear measurements, and thus exceeds his volume 8-fold.
I would just like to point out, for those who do not know metric measurements, that's about 7.5 inches.
I was gonna ask you to look that up for me, but I knew you would just do it.
Nice.
So apparently Bloom is really fucking hung. So why the hell is his wife cheating on him? I guess he just sucks in bed.
Well, after
he's all length and no technique.
Yeah, so it was theorized that after his son died, he lost the ability to gain an erection.
Mm-hmm.
But evidently that is untrue, because
well, remember, he did see the ghost of his dead son, so presumably he's gotten his mojo back.
Interesting.
What erotic practice was first attempted by the pair, and what way did it fail?
Bloom eyeing Stephen's buttocks with relish. Stephen eyeing Bloom's penis with something approaching piety. It was mutually agreed without delay that these two features should in some way be brought into conjunction. These two having assumed respective bent and standing positions, an experimental sortie was made, and abruptly halted by the swift closing of ranks on the defending side. A series of subtler maneuvers overcame the defense, and the battle for the citadel began in earnest. A clash so rough and vicious that a great wail went up from both sides, and an immediate retreat was effected.
What recent purchase by Bloom now caused him to reflect on his uncommon luck and inadvertent genius.
Oh my god! What a throwback to Chapter 5. Molly's skin lotion, bought from the chemist at Sweeney's on Lombard Street.
As in the soap?
Wait a second. He didn't get the soap. He left an empty bottle to be filled up, and was supposed to come back for it later, but he forgot. What he did buy was not lotion, but a bar of hand soap.
Yeah. Fake fan.
Fake fan.
My immersion is ruined.
Fake
So
fan.
it's my
I guess this takes
fault.
place in an alternate universe where Bloom remembered to get the soap. I mean the
Man,
lotion.
if-
Soap AU.
Soap AU.
The soap or the lotion AU. You
Yeah.
mean? If only Bloom remembered to get that lotion and remembered to actually pay for the soap.
That's
then maybe
why
he would
it
have gotten
didn't
to have sex.
happen in the book, because he was too distracted to get the lotion. But in this alternate universe, in which he did get the lotion, or perhaps he didn't have to wait for it to be filled at all, they get the fuck.
In what ways did the newly anointed Bloom serve as savior?
He saved the integrity of his and Stephen's nether regions. He saved the day.
What? What frequency did Bloom attain in the periodic motion that followed?
In its earliest and most tentative phases, merely a single cycle per 6 or 8 seconds, but at full intensity a figure close to 1 cycle per second, close to, though somewhat less frequent than the rate of heart contractions, assuming in a resting and untroubled state. 86,400 times more frequent than the full rotation of the Earth about its axis, and 31,536,000 times as frequent as the full passage of the Earth in its orbit about the Sun. Okay, if this was actually written by Joyce, those numbers would be wrong.
So, if I understand correctly, what happened here was, he's trying to stick in Steven's butt.
He's trying to go in
and
dry.
it's like it won't go in, and it's not working. And he's like, "Wait a minute, the lotion."
The lotion.
And
exactly.
they're going to use and then they use the lotion as lube.
Yup.
Incredible. That's why the lotion is necessary, and that's why it's this alternate universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They couldn't use the soap as lube. Was Bloom satisfied?
Abruptly, explosively, with an ill-advised grunt, thoroughly, profoundly.
And Steven?
Astonished, braced, rapt, but still without release.
Man, Steven didn't get off. Was there a topic that Bloom considered apposite?
Apposite? I don't know what that means. Brandon, look it up
to
for me.
mention at this juncture?
His familiarity with the works of Saker Masoch and Lovebirch, and the existence of certain acts which his wife refused to perform, such as sex with him.
Yeah, apposite means act in the circumstances or in relation to something.
Got it.
Uh-huh.
Appropriate.
Great Joycean word.
Very Joycean word, because it's almost the same as appropriate, which everyone already knows, so why wouldn't you use that?
Man, my wife doesn't fuck me like this. Steven's response?
That a Jesuit education might have been more of benefit to Bloom than it had been to himself. That the wish to create was in a certain sense the wish to control. That there were no suitable implements ready to hand.
Was this the case?
A variety of options, in fact, presented themselves to Bloom, but Stephen's comment concerning literary creation drew his thoughts in the peculiar direction of the bookshelf.
His instruction to Steven?
To retrieve the thick, firm, bulky second volume of Hosier's History of the Russo-Turkish War. Wait a second.
Is that a specific reference?
Well, yeah, it's a reference to a book that's on his shelf.
Well,
However,
sure, but like,
however,
however,
Mhm. How they get
Bloom
inside.
didn't look at the bookshelf until after Steven had left. Steven was never shown the bookshelf.
Just roll
Fake
with it, man.
fan. Fake fan. Because they were in the kitchen, and then they went out to the yard, and then Steven left, and then Bloom went back into the living room, where he found the furniture rearranged, and then he looked through the junk drawer and the bookshelf. Steven never saw his bookshelf, and wouldn't know about his thick, firm, bulky second volume of Hosier's History of the Russo-Turkish War.
what new use, entirely unanticipated by Hoser, was found for his work?
The repeated paddling of Bloom's upturned rump, which proved fleshy enough to sustain the most force Daedalus could muster. That quantity being greater than either suspected in light of the latter's physique.
So, Daly starts spanking Bloom with the book very roughly.
Yes.
Did Stephen perform this labor in silence?
He produced with excruciating eloquence an extended extemporaneous extrapolation of the present circumstances into a cohabitive future, characterized by Stephen's freedom and Bloom's subservience as simultaneous slave, housekeeper, muse, and prisoner, elaborated along material lines with a variety of restraining chains, manacles, ropes, and gags, and along psychic lines with a sketch of Bloom's expansive contentment, extending even unto an acceptance of other men and women's presence in the home for Stephen's, but not Bloom's, carnal purposes.
Did Stephen restrain himself against the force of his own invention?
Handling Hosier with one hand only, he put the other to a different use.
How long did this state of affairs continue?
For 13 seconds.
Wow. Only lasted 13 seconds while spanking Bloom.
Well, he already got fucked in the ass for a while.
True.
Which happened
Was
again
Steven-
very quickly.
Yes.
Was Stephen satisfied?
Immeasurably.
Then,
Bloom and Daedalus collapsed in unison on the prune plush sofa and sat in mutual nonplussed contemplation of each other and themselves, both noting their severe lingering aches, the tangible persisting adherence of unaccustomed fluids, the acutely angled rays of the newly risen sun, the implied revolution of the earth, the apparent contemporaneous revolution in their standing relative to one another, the redoubled weariness of their limbs, the pillow-like capability of each body for the other, the travels and the rest, and the home and the sofa and the silence and the sleep.
so remind me, how long was it between them pissing and the sun coming up in the original work?
I
Way longer.
don't recall, but it
'Cause-
definitely was
Based
quite
on the
a
lengths of
bit.
time that they gave here, that our author gave here for how long their intercourse lasted, it seemed a little quick.
Yes. Also, it was like 2
Yeah.
sentences. Wait. Oh, there we go. Alright, shout out to Nostalgia Brayist.
Yes. Yeah, leave a kudos on this one. This is
I
good.
don't
yeah.
have an AO3 account.
No, you can do that without an
Oh,
account.
really?
Yep.
Yeah, just
Yep,
click
you
it.
can just click kudos.
Kudos. I have already left kudos here? Huh? Wait, huh?
I mean, I did to put it in chat like a while ago, and then I just. You might have kudos.
Did you kudo it?
Hmm?
Because,
Multiple people can kudos.
but
it.
we have the same IP. Because
Ah.
we're sharing a router. So if you kudosed it, then it
Oh,
pro
okay.
because we don't have. I'm guessing you didn't also log into your account.
I don't have an account.
Right. So if you kudosed it, it would be
Okay,
associated
yeah.
with the IP.
Mm.
Well, my
Interesting.
satisfaction is immeasurable.
Interesting.
Uh,
Yeah, their other works are all original. Their 3 other works are all original. So, I mean, I guess this was just a literary exercise.
It was well done.
It was well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, seriously. if I was like an English professor and then like write a short passage in the style of James Joyce, I'd be like, yeah, no, this clears it.
I hate what you've done with it, but you passed.
Yeah. Also, Paul has written in the chat feet.
Feet.
Feet. Yeah. And look at that. We've just cleared the 2-hour mark.
Huzzah! Oh my God, they March 30th, 2021.
No.
Oh wow,
They're still going.
impressive.
Interesting. Interesting.
We're not reading more fan
No,
fiction.
not tonight.
No.
I-
Not tonight.
I do have to compliment their writing skills. They did get some narrative details wrong, but so did Joyce. So can't
We can
fault them for
forgive
that.
And at least introduces the interesting possibility of an alternate universe where he remembers to get this, pick up the soap.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, he needed to
Mhm.
pay for the soap, and he needed to pick up the lotion.
Or yeah, that's what I mean.
All right. Well, I think that concludes our Ulysses content for the day.
Yes.
This breather before we tackle the mountain that
Chapter.
is chapter 18.
You guys want to see something neat?
Sure.
Sure. What you got?
This is what I have been working on. Oh wait. Oh fuck. Oh, God
Oh.
damn it. My chroma key.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is the announcement for the book we will be reading after
My chroma key.
Ulysses.
Give it back.
Very exciting. It's very interesting work, but again, that's for after we get through chapter. Are we gonna try to like do like a big long read of chapter 18? Are we gonna do like a? Or we can do a highlight reel. Or
I
just, we
think
actually
we're gonna
all
do
have
a
to read the
highlight
text and
reel.
come in with notes. Or do you want to do like a take a day off of work and just start reading it until oh shit! Look at that.
Kazinki-chan is working.
She's working. Yeah.
Sort of. Chroma key's busted.
Give it a second. I'll fix it. Oh, you guys are on a little bit longer of a delay than I thought.
Do you not have the shades? Or is that gonna be added like as additional layer or option or thing?
You mean these shades?
Oh.
Or Mississippi. 2 Mississippi.
Oh,
3
nice.
Mississippi. 4
Love it.
Mississippi. 5.
Now, you know what I also have?
Mm.
Reflections in the shades. Check this out. I can watch Minute Phantom's cover of Bustin' by Neil Cicierega on Bilibili, which I do on a regular basis. And I can perform some praxis, not actionable satire in Minecraft and Google
Right.
how to build a bomb.
Incredible. I love it. I also
What?
like how your neck just sort of bends weirdly.
Yeah, it's like a sea worm down
Yeah.
there.
The rigging was very simple on this one. We'll call it. Wait, how do I?
You also appear to have a dent in your head.
A dent in? No. That's
Well, if there's about a 30-second delay on my end between what we're saying in the Discord and what's
okay.
popping up
Maybe
on
there
the
is a
screen,
little
that's
bit of a
cool.
dent. I should add some more hair to cover that up. Yeah, I don't really have anything else other than that to show off. Also, I can't turn my glasses off. Hold on. Hotkey settings. Hotkey settings? This is supposed to be a toggle. Numpad 1. Numpad 1. Numpad what? Interesting. Interesting. 2. 2.
Well, it's good we're working this
3.
out now as opposed to when we're actually reading
3.
Industrial Society and its Future. Again, satirically. We're not taking inspiration
Yeah.
from it.
So when I was originally, I wanted to get a screenshot of like something like the Anarchist Cookbook or something, to use as like how to build a bomb instead of just the Google search. So after Googling Ted Kaczynski and then buying a copy of his manifesto, I Googled how to build a bomb and was like, oh, I forgot to
Whoops.
append in Minecraft to the search, and now I'm not going to be able to get a security clearance.
Yeah, and then when we were talking about it the other day, we triggered.
Yeah, we were all in the living room
Yeah.
talking about it. And Angela's like, "Don't Google how to build a bomb." And then his phone was on the table, and then it hurt him, and he Googled how to build a bomb.
That was great.
So now we're all on a list.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Mostly because starting
Sure,
Industrial
that's-
Society in its future means we're done with
Yeah.
uh
Yes.
Ulysses.
This mouth needs to open more, I think.
I will say though, with complete sincerity, it actually looks like a pretty good model.
Yeah. Well,
Like in terms of like an evolution from Bloomchamp.
yeah. So I did cheat and just kind of traced it from that picture.
Oh no, your VTuber model is a trace.
Yeah.
Again, from an AI generated image.
It was
that
an AI
reposted
generated
1,000
image,
times.
so technically no one owns it.
The AI owns it, Alex. Excuse
AIs
me.
don't have property rights. I do
Yeah.
kind of want to do a second pass on the hair.
A little transparent.
The hair's a little transparent.
A little too transparent, I think. I get what you gotta do so you can like see the eyebrows underneath.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
a stylistic.
yeah,
effect.
that was a stylistic choice. What I actually did was I made hair. I put the eyebrows on top of the hair, and then I put additional hair on top of the eyebrows. Yeah.
Mm.
No, that was a deliberate stylistic choice. Because if you look at most VTuber models, the eyebrows are just in front of the bangs, so that you can see them.
Mhm.
It's a thing a lot of anime.
Yeah,
styles
well,
do.
anime does it too, but VTubers especially. I cannot take my glasses off. I am sad to report
Broken. a
they
little bit.
won't go away.
Yeah, like with the glasses and only just the head sort of snapping back and forth. It looks like those dancing sunflower things that like you put on your windowsill. that you push
Oh,
the button and they
those?
just sort of dance.
Yeah. I do want to try adding a little bit of motion to the shoulders. Yeah. I want to show the eyes off, but my glasses won't fucking go away. And I don't know what to do about that. Hang on.
I mean, while they were there, the purple eyes are a good touch.
I'm proud
That's
of the
good.
eyes. I
That's-
did the
that's a
eyes
good
myself.
idea.
That was not a trace because you can't trace a gradient. Okay, just reload the model. There we go. Eh, eh. Okay. Well, there we go. It's lost calibration on the eyes, so I can't blink. But
You can fix it in post.
well, the problem is you have to each time you start the webcam, it calibrates differently.
Ah.
The eye movement is tied to mouse X and Y, Otherwise, because there's
it
not.
just won't move.
Well, yeah, it just because I just look at the monitor and it just looks kind of weird. And I have a happy that kind of looks pained. Okay, so that one toggles on and off. Why don't glasses? Okay, now they turn off. What the fuck? I got a sad. I also have an angry, but I don't have that one set up.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I'm actually pretty happy with this model. Like, Bloom was bad, and I didn't try to make him look good. This one I actually had to, like, do some stuff to.
Now you just gotta announce your debut on r/
Reddit.
VTubers.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
I mean, well, the thing is, if we get that sort of audience, they would have to go back and watch all the old episodes so they can understand the lore.
No. Oh yeah, the other thing that I need to add is the Lane hair tie.
Yeah, that's correct.
And I want to have toggleable bear ears on the hood. That would be fun.
Cute. So, I wasn't going to mention it, but I just remembered it. Were you going to use the pictures for the bottom for our voices lighting up?
Oh, I was.
I gave you mine. I don't know if
Yeah, I didn't get one from Brandon.
I sent you one, or at least I showed you the one I wanted to, but you would have to do one, because I don't have any. I don't keep transparent things of myself lying around.
It doesn't have to be of you. It just has to be of anything.
something
like-
to represent you.
Yeah, it could be it could be a sock. It could be potted meat.
I am presented by a sock already.
I know.
It's my-
That's
my
that's why I
profile
said it.
picture.
Anyway, I'm planning on redoing the layout for book club part 2. So
that's when we'll implement that.
I'll set that up because I have to like install the plugin and everything and make that
Yeah,
work.
after the time skip, we're all like older and more serious.
Yeah,
Good one.
and I'm wearing glasses to indicate the passage of time.
We'll also clear out the background to put up a whole bunch of new cool references.
Yeah. And I will make. I'm streaming at like a weird aspect ratio right now. I think. What am I at? Oh, no, I am at 1080p. Well, I'm at 720p, but I'm at normal aspect ratio.
All right.
Yeah. So there you go. Name is TBD. It's either gonna be Unabomber or Kazinki-chan, which rolls off the tongue a lot better. Unabomber is really funny though.
Actually, Unabomber. Una-Obama.
Unabomber.
Because then, like, the stream could be called Unabomber Rama, and that's great.
Anyway, if anyone has suggestions for other sunglass reflections, let me know. Because it's really funny. And I have a space for like a lot more of these. Yeah, anyway, I think that concludes tonight's feature presentation.
Bye.
Bye. Did I say what's up, bookers, this morning?
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
at the
you
beginning of the
did.
stream? Okay.
You did.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more episodes like this one.
Or if you don't.
If you don't, send me angry messages on Twitter. I love those.